Are you a fan of the Iron Sysadmin podcast? If you are, don't forget you can support the show via Patreon at patreon.com/ironsysadmin. Or you can buy merchandise at teespring.com/stores/ironsysadmin. And thank you. News, ops, and a little bit of paranoia. Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin Podcast. Welcome, folks, to tonight's episode of the Iron Sysadmin Podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and I'm joined tonight by the one and only, Uncle Marc.
Oh, thank God there's only one of me. I actually think I started some smart assery during the intro, so I don't know if you're going to clean that out or it's just going to be what it is. I don't know.
It'll probably get deleted. I didn't hear it, if that matters.
It was very much under my breath.
Oh, we got Matt Yakel in the chat for the first time.
That's okay. Who?
Sorry. Yeah. Well, he's a patron.
Which platform is he on? Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Working late, waiting on a ZFS pool to resize, maybe?
I don't know if resilver is the word you really wanted to use, Matt, but I don't know ZFS, so
yeah, maybe
it might be resilver. For all I know. ZFS has an encumbered, what is the term? An encumbered license on it. So,
yes, that's right.
So I use Red Hat and Fedora and that stuff, and so because of the license of ZFS, I can't use it and use my preferred distributions.
Wasn't Butter FS meant to be an alternative, or am I thinking of ZFS was the alternative? Or not
no,
ZFS,
Butter XFS. XFS, I think Butter actually has more of the features that ZFS has.
That's what I thought.
And Butter actually is the default file system in Fedora nowadays.
It is.
It is. Starting at Fedora, that wasn't a question. That was a statement. I think if you did a fresh build of Fedora 33, I think you got Butter. You can't convert in place, as far as I know. What it comes down to is I'm due for a new laptop, and when I throw Fedora on it, it'll end up having Butter on it. I'm guessing
it'll be buttery.
Sweet butter. Yeah,
buttery.
That does not necessarily mean it's going to land in RHEL, but it'll definitely be on my Fedora thing.
Didn't they remove ButterFS from RHEL 8?
So Butter
being
was
some back and forth.
Butter never made it beyond a tech preview, I think, in 7.
Yeah.
It was a tech preview with certain versions of 7, I think. And there was just never, I don't think we were ever happy enough with the maturity. And Josh, of course, provide linkiness.
Yes, thank you, J Scar.
And for the Fedora, because Fedora, despite what all the haters say, Red Hat does not own Fedora, cannot order them to do anything. The Fedora community has decided they want to use Butter.
They can do what they want, right?
You're not my real dad. I can do what I want. So
I'm independent. I can do what I want.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, that's right. We tech previewed starting in RHEL 6, and then it was removed from RHEL 8. And then those Fedora, those whippersnappers said, no, Mom and Dad, we're doing it in Fedora 33. So I think if it can get better, betterer, then it could end up in a RHEL down the road, maybe. But I don't know. That's
perhaps
really
if it gets more buttery smooth.
I mean, it's the default for SUSE for /12. It's in production support for Oracle Linux.
Listen,
but, you know how I feel about them.
We are better than SLES. We're certainly better. than Oracle Linux.
Actually, if I'm honest, SLES was the first Linux I got paid to work on.
Yeah.
Because when I joined the Linux team, we're not supposed to be telling my story tonight.
No, I guess we're not.
But give me a paragraph. When I joined the Linux team in 2004 at Merck, they had pivoted from a flavor of Red Hat to SLES 8. And we used SLES 8 for a couple of years until we then flipped back to RHEL 4.
8? That is. I was just going to say that is a while ago, but so was RHEL 4.
Did you notice how much hair I don't have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Scar says he can't believe it's not butter.
So Matt, all blessings to your pool. May it re-silver, if that's really what you're doing.
That's really what it's supposed to be doing.
We're assuming it's some other action you're.
We're going to blame autocorrect, right?
I hope the data ends up okay.
All right. So tonight, believe it or not, this is something folks asked for. I don't know if you remember, like 2-3 months ago.
Crazy ass listeners.
We do have crazy listeners. Like 2 or 3 months ago, I put a poll.
Keep doing 2-hour podcasts.
Or not even a poll, but a question up on Patreon, asking people what they'd like to hear. And probably the 2 most popular answers were our own backstories, much like comic book characters, and how like we got into IT or how to get into IT. So what I'm picturing in my head, and we'll see how this all pans out, is we're going to, maybe not in a row, right? Like we're going to do one tonight, and then we'll do another one some other night. Not like next week or not next show, but we'll litter these throughout. And we're gonna
Depends on what other stuff we come up with.
right. We're gonna start by I'm gonna give basically my IT background, my story. How did I become an IT nerd? How did I get into the industry? Like what path did I take? And it's gonna be part story, right? Like where did Nate come from, and part well, how did I get into IT, right? So that's I'm not gonna say that's like an instruction manual, but it's well, an example of how someone got into IT and into the arguably great position that I managed to find myself in now, right? I think Marc will agree that it's a pretty good position. Otherwise, he wouldn't have talked me into coming to it.
Yeah, I still remember that lunch. You were all like, I don't know.
I was worried. I don't know what I was worried about looking back. Hindsight's always 20/20. Anyway, so we'll do me tonight, and then maybe we'll do Marc some other night. Maybe we'll do Jason if he's up for that. Charles too if he wants to, and that's how we'll start. And then I had this crazy thought that maybe we would try to find either listeners or maybe even like friends or friends of friends that also have a story, right? How they got into IT, maybe even folks that got into IT a lot more recently than we did, because the industry has obviously changed, right? So someone that's 20 years younger than me will have a whole different story, right, than mine.
Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, and again, Matt, if you're still listening and you haven't hung up and discussed, Nate and I both admitted we were ZFS noobs or weren't familiar with it. Apparently, it is Resilver because Josh looked it up. Josh is basically our, he's
our moderator.
He's like our Alfred.
He's our fact finder.
Like if we're Batman, if we're Batman and Robin, and I'm not wearing the Robin costume, so we're just gonna put that right out there.
Which Robin though? Because there's been plenty of Robins over the years. Some of them are not nearly as terrible as you remember. Are you thinking like Adam West Robin?
Well, definitely that wouldn't happen.
Because if that's the case, you're right.
Maybe current Teen Titans Robin.
Teen Titans Robin
he's a
ain't
badass.
So bad. What about like didn't he rebrand himself to Nighthawk? Wasn't that the thing he did?
My daughter and I are watching Titans on HBO, and I think that's going to happen. EXT4, yeah. But yeah, apparently Resilver is a thing.
Okay, so Resilver is a word. It wasn't on autocorrect.
So what
now
it does
don't
is
we look silly?
Well, no, but this is where you learn stuff all the time. He's basically copying all the data in one device from the data and parity. Okay, Resilver recopies all the data in one device from the data and parity information in the other devices. All right.
Hey.
So it looks like it's reconstructing data. Somehow.
Hi there, big damn hero.
He joined us. Yeah, we played D&D with him.
Maybe we could get his story too.
I'd love his story.
He's about my age though, so he might have a similar story to mine.
Yeah, but he landed in a significantly different place.
Totally.
It's still IT, and it's a good. He landed in a company that rhymes with Mamawan.
It's so hazy and misty there though.
It is. There's a giant ass river. and women with combat armor and spears. And stuff.
Right. Anyway, so the point of the show tonight,
they sell a lot of books.
Anyway. They sell a lot of books. Yeah, they're just a big bookstore. That's all they are. All right, so I'm honestly, my history in technology goes way, way, way back, like literally most of my life. When I was a kid, right? So my dad ran a telephone company, right? He's an EE. He was an electrical engineering major at like Penn State. He was in technology before I was born, right? Mm-hmm. Like communications technology and whatnot. And that's the same sort of thing that sort of fascinated me as I grew up. So, and probably because of his influence. So literally, as far back as I can remember, we had a computer in the living room. And that computer was Yes?
I'm going to pitch you questions every so often.
Feel free.
Because otherwise it's a monologue.
Yeah, it is.
So when we talk about when you were little, whatever, blah, 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 can you give our listeners some idea of what we're talking? I you're not supposed to ask a woman her age,
Yeah,
but you're not
right,
a woman. So
right.
like, how old are you, Nate?
So, I mean,
Ish.
it'll be easy to figure out based on the technologies that I talk about, but we'll say this is
Okay.
early 80s, right?
Early
I
80s.
was literally born at the
You were
beginning
little
of
in
the
the early
80s,
80s.
right?
Okay.
So, we had a Texas Instruments, and I do not know the model. I have not seen this computer since I was old enough to understand what it was, right? So, it had a cartridge slot on the front that you could play certain games with.
TI-99, I think.
I don't know. I remember it was gray or
I think
tan.
it was a TI-99.
Could be. Had a slot on the front. It had a. Oh no! Wait, it was black. Black with a silver, like, almost like brushed steel style aluminum top to it.
Yeah, the Texas Instruments TI-99 4A.
Could be. It had this little
I'm
add-on
gonna
box on the side that had a voice box.
Yeah,
So it could
I'm gonna
speak.
throw the message in the Twitch chat. That's, I think, the computer you're talking about. A friend of mine had
Could
it,
be. Could be.
and he actually used it to help run our D&D game when I was in
Nice.
high school.
But of course, it ran basic. But it had a couple games on it that were like my dad literally found educational games to help me learn my alphabet. So sometimes in like interviews like this or whatever, I say I learned my alphabet on a computer, and at the time that I learned my alphabet, right? That's that's long enough ago that it was not common for people to be learning their alphabet at home on their computer, right? Not that I was born in the '60s or something when home computers were just not at all a thing, but in the early '80s they weren't that common.
Right.
I'll say I'm the only kid I know that had one.
I was one of the first people because I was in high school around the time you were born.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated high school in '85, and again, I know it's your story, but I remember when I first did I did a report using our family computer, and I was one of the first people to actually use a word processor and print it out. We basically had to tell the teacher, like my dad, I think, had to talk to the teacher and say, "Look, the computer didn't write this for me."
Yep, I had those same conversations.
Okay, it was a funny time, right?
I used to do my math homework in a word processor, right? So that I could. I don't know why I even did it. Math is not, especially elementary school math,
Especially not in the '80s.
because it's all columns, right? And that's not
Yeah.
easy to do in a word processor.
Especially in the '80s.
Right. I used to type them out in a word processor, and the teacher said the same thing to me. You had the computer do it for you. I'm like, no, I used a word processor. There's no. It's not like I used Excel that would do the calculations.
Well, it would
for
have been
me, right?
VisiCalc.
Yeah, it would have been something other than Excel, right? But that's the point. All right. So anyway, I don't know. I've never met anyone who could actually tell me they'd heard of this game, but I played a game called Hunt the Wumpus. Does that ring a bell for you?
Yes!
Of course. Good.
Hunt the Wumpus started on mainframes.
This is the first computer game I think I ever played was Hunt the Wumpus on that TI.
Right. Hunt
Like
the Wumpus.
you would type in, a command and then it would do a thing on the screen, right? It was almost
You had a how many arrows did you like? You had a limited number of arrows. You had to listen. It was a neat game. It was a text-based game.
I barely remember the
Deduction.
rules because it was basically I would
Wow.
sit there and my dad would play it and we would tell him to do funny things like Zot things.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of the first computer games I ever played. Anyway, I don't want to belabor each part of this for too long because we have about 40 years of stuff to get through, considering how early it gets started.
Okay.
After the TI, so the whole time my dad had like a quote unquote real computer that he did work on. He had an Atari, and again, I don't know the model, but this one was gray, had those like slantwise keys at the top. I want to say it was like a 200 series something XL.
Yeah, I know the computer, but I'm gonna try and let you monologue a bit.
Again, ran basic, right? And he had come into a ton of 5.25-inch floppy based games that we could play on this thing. Like, it seemed like a limitless collection of games when I was that age, right? And I would sit down and I'd spend hours playing, games on his Atari. And then, of course, like every kid in the 80s, I eventually got a Nintendo. And then I stopped playing games on the Atari and I played the Nintendo instead. But, that's neither here nor there. But again, right? Nintendo is one of those things that, like, every kid had. And I honestly feel like that game system was finicky enough, right? That a lot of people have memories of like, how do I make the damn thing work after they started to age a little bit? Yeah, the Nintendo was like, I don't know, with ours anyway, like the cartridge couldn't go all the way in. If you put it all the way in, the game wouldn't load. If you put it in like 98% of the way, game would work, right? Like they were finicky. Once they started to age, they were finicky. So, it turned into like, I want to play a video game. It doesn't work. I'm a kid who doesn't have any way of like taking this to a repair shop to figure the damn thing out. I need to figure this out, right? So it was kind of like a troubleshooting exercise every time I wanted to start a game. Personally, I feel like this contributed to, wanting to get into the sort of field that I went into. That's the only reason I included it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Then when I was in high school, I still didn't have a real computer of my own. My dad had his Atari. I used to use that thing, again, like for some gaming, I used it for some schoolwork. Then I got my hands on and actually, I don't even know when the thing was made, a Tandy color computer. Those like beige boxes that you plugged into your TV.
I know that one too. Yeah.
And I started learning some BASIC on that. I never really got too proficient with BASIC, but I had some books, and I would figure some things out. I would write some programs and make them do things, and it was interesting, right? But then it comes to the point where things got truly interesting, and that's where my dad finally got an actual x86 computer. He got a 486, 33 megahertz machine.
Sounds right.
And this thing, it was like 1992, I think.
Right.
And this was like
that was a decent machine in 92.
It was 4 meg of memory. 4 meg. So,
But the only memory that mattered was conventional memory.
Right, the 640. I could go on for an hour about Aces Over Europe, the flight sim that I wanted to play, and how difficult it was, and how much about DOS I had to learn to make that damn thing work.
Absolutely, you needed a boot disk for every single game because you needed to get the memory configuration just
that game needed 610K of conventional memory free.
Yeah.
Could you imagine running your entire operating system in 30K of memory?
Yes, because I did it a lot.
That's what this game allotted for. Anyway,
there was that's why Microsoft eventually released MemMaker as part of one of the versions of DOS.
Yep.
Which would help you create those disks to maximize conventional memory.
Yeah.
And that was like black friggin' magic.
Yep.
And me and my nerd friends would try and beat MemMaker. Like, can we do a better
job?
Can
I do better than MemMaker did?
And sometimes we could.
I can't remember. There was
that was tight, man. Like making those DOS games run was an art. So if that intrigued you, man, that's great.
I can clearly remember, like, writing a boot disk, booting it up. What was it, Mem you ran to see the free memory on DOS?
I think so.
I can remember, like, booting it up, running Mem. Crap, didn't get it. Reboot.
Yeah.
Fiddle this. Reboot again. No, it's still not right.
What were the two files? Was it
config sys and autoexec bat?
Thank you. A config sys was the one I was blanking on.
Yep.
Config sys and autoexec.
Oh man, I can still DOS in my sleep, I think, because of how much time I spent at the DOS command line. I was one of those. Windows 3.1 was like okay if I wanted to get on the internet or something, which wasn't a thing when we got this. I mean, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing in our area. But the amount of time I spent just at a command prompt, running games, twiddling with this, doing that, whatever, right? Right. And, again, this got me comfortable at a command prompt, right? Windows, for as long as I can remember, Windows has been the bane of my existence. That includes back when I was trying to get Aces Over Europe running, which is literally one of the earliest experiences I had on a PC.
Sweet.
So anyway, then I figured out how to dial into BBSs from that thing. Because again, no internet yet, right? So we're doing dial-up BBSs. And this is a hobby that has persisted throughout the rest of my life. I still run a BBS today that you can go in and play Trade Wars, right?
Tellarena.
Tellarena is currently broken on there, but believe it or not, and this is probably a whole, I've actually been thinking about doing this. We should do another show on this, but there is, so the BBS package that I ran, or the BBS that I used to connect to and now run now, run was called the Major BBS by Galacticom. Galacticom went basically bankrupt, right? Mm-hmm. And all of its IP was held up by a bank, right? There's a guy who tracked it down and bought all of that IP from the bank, probably 10 years ago at this point. And he's just now finally getting enough traction to revitalize the code base. They just made it, well, they're just about to make a new release. They're going to release version 10 of the Major BBS. And it's pretty damn cool. It's called the Major BBS Restoration Project. If anybody's interested in that sort of thing, there's a Facebook group at the moment. That's probably the best way to get into it and start poking around. But if you're into that scene, check it out. There's also, I'll have to get the URL. I think it's just themajorbbs.com. There's a message forum there where you can get involved. But anyway, that's not what today's about. But what I want to do is his name's Rick. I want to bring him on the show some night, and we'll talk about that. Folks, if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll speed up the process, because I already started the conversation with him, and we just never finished it. So anyway, back to my story, right? So BBSing was awesome, and it fascinated me. The fact that over a phone line from my dad's office, I could dial into a computer somewhere else and talk to other people that were all doing the same thing by dialing in to, this board. Sure. We could play games together. We could use the board as a go-between to network Doom for 4 players, people. 4! It was...
That was major.
It was.
People today just take this stuff for granted.
Well, it used to be a network game was played over a serial cable, peer-to-peer, 1-to-1. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you were right next to the person you were playing. It wasn't across the internet. It wasn't across... You could do it over a phone line, but again, 1-to-1, 2 players. That's all you could have, because it was a direct connection from one to the other.
Correct.
When these... I want to say things like the Major BBS's game connection was one of probably the first things that enabled more than 2-player games. I mean, I don't know what else existed around the time. It's the first one I knew of.
You had there were a couple of services like CompuServe.
Oh, right.
Or oh God, what was the one that Gemstone was on? So my friend Jim would remember that.
There was like Prodigy, there was CompuServe, there was AOL.
This is even before AOL, but
there was another.
This stuff was like pay by the hour level.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was billed in the same way that like long distance phone dialing was billed. Like the amount of time you were connected, you were billed for.
Yeah. Yeah, when I tell my story, maybe I'll tell the tale of Gemstone and the $500 a month. Part of that was toll call, part of that was connectivity. I had a job, so I could fortunately pay.
Yeah,
but
a lot of people didn't.
I stopped playing Gemstone after that point.
So anyway, Jay Scar is already doing the digging. He found the majorbbs.com/Phoenix. Project Phoenix is what they're calling the revitalization, like the new release of the Major BBS is codenamed Project Phoenix. And that actually goes back to when Galacticom was still grasping at straws to get themselves out. This was like right when the internet was starting to get popular and Galacticom was failing money-wise. They had all these great ideas and they bundled them up in this thing they called Project Phoenix. And that was going to save Galacticom. But basically the banks came calling too early and, well... they got gobbled up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So where was I? 486 BBSs. Then I got finally my own x86 machine, which was probably 2 years after maybe a year after my dad got his. And this was a 486 66 megahertz, twice as fast as my dad's, and it had a math coprocessor. And 8 gig of memory. I mean, it was just flying. It was awesome. I played a lot of Doom on that thing. I mean, you see the poster.
I do.
There's a reason I have that poster. That came in the box when I bought Ultimate Doom. New in the late 90s. So anyway, and that, having my own machine that I could like actually tinker on, I could break and fix on my own without interrupting my dad and his stuff that he had to do on his computer was or maybe even life changing Because, like tinkering with the auto-exec bat to get Aces Over Europe running, if I broke crap, all I had to do was figure out how to fix it. I didn't have to worry about whether my dad had a spreadsheet he had to work on that night.
Yeah.
So, it was good to have my own finally. And I could tinker with it and I could change things. And that is what led me into Linux. Because at the time, I had this fascination with just software in general. Not writing software or anything, but just like getting it and tinkering with it and trying it out. And I learned about the concept of a network operating system. And I was looking at like Windows NT. I even pirated a copy of Windows NT 3.5.1 if anybody remembers. Yes, I was quite the pirate back in those days. All the FTP addresses I had memorized.
Well, you're probably past the statute of limitations.
Yeah,
so
all the downloads I did over dial-up. I downloaded Windows NT over dial-up from an FTP site through the BBS. Right? It took all night.
And 3.5.1 was rough.
It was.
Well, again, this is about you, but 3.5.1 was actually used as a desktop operating system at Merck when I started there.
Yeah, Windows
in the 90s.
Windows NT had this concept of client versus server builds, right? So there was a server build of each one and a client build of each one. The Windows NT kernel is what Windows runs on today.
It's
a much newer,
evolved version.
Yeah, the much evolved version of it, right? But NT,
which is if you look at the two major OSs that you and I use, Linux obviously comes from a Unix background.
Yep.
Where Windows NT, a lot of the concepts were pioneered on the VAX.
Yep.
So it's that old Unix versus the VAX again.
It still is.
It still is. I think I'm right with that.
I think you're right. I did hear that it was based on a Unix-like kernel, but I never really dug into where exactly it came from.
Yeah, we're gonna check.
You're gonna dig into that. But
well,
yeah,
Josh is doing a fantastic job.
If anybody wants links for any of this stuff, it's all in the Twitch chat. Go over to Twitch. Josh is sharing them left and right. We're gonna have to copy all these down and throw them into the show notes because, crap. In fact, Josh, just copy them all down. Email them to me later. Anyway, so yeah, NT 3.5.1 downloaded over dial-up. OS2 Warp, I had a friend copied OS2 Warp onto like 127 floppies for me, so I could try that out. OS2 Warp had this cool thing where you could literally run a little app and it would make floppies for you. I don't know how they thought that wasn't going to get abused.
I tried to run Warp, but I had hardware that was unreliable, so it would often just explode.
I ran it more or less because I was really curious, right? I never really got anything productive done on Warp, but it was neat. No. It was a neat operating system.
You got to remember, those were the days when it was Windows 3.1.1, and Windows 3.1.1 was inherently unstable. So the promise of Warp was you could have a rock-solid stable OS and then run essentially virtualized instances of Windows 3.1.1 on top of it. Gee, that sounds kind of familiar, right?
It does, doesn't it?
But I had a 386 that would cry every time I would try to do that.
Yep, I ran it on my little 486. In fact, I still have a CD somewhere of OS2 Warp, but no, I have not been able to find a modern virtualization engine that will let me run it.
Interesting. It was very particular about its hardware. So particular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember it was quite... In fact, I don't know if I ever got sound working on Warp.
I doubt it.
If I remember correctly. But anyway. Right, so Warp was fun. But anyway, there's a point to all this story about operating systems, and that is I was just like fascinated with this idea of alternatives to Windows. And on top of that, there's a reason I pirated all of this. I had no money. I was a kid. I was still a high school kid, right? I didn't work in high school. I probably should have, but I didn't. Get a job. Right.
And if you had gotten a job, you weren't going to be using the money to buy an operating system.
No, I'd be buying a bike or a car.
Or getting a girlfriend or something.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's a good thing I didn't have a job. Anyway, I would have bought a Jeep a lot sooner is really what that would have been.
Probably.
I would have ended up in a terrible car accident.
But so you became fascinated with operating systems, yet you had no money,
Right.
and it was
And
now we're coming into the late 80s
this is the late 90s at
or
this
the late
point. Yeah.
90s.
So
Yeah.
I'm in high school. When I was in high school, we even did this cool, like,
You all know what's going to happen, right?
we did
Late
this.
90s, no money, loves operating
Yeah, right.
systems.
We did this cool
Spoiler alert.
project where we actually ran a network in the high school. I went to a tech school, right? Much to the chagrin of all of the academics around me. Oh, you'll never go anywhere if you go to a tech school.
Man, look at what a failure you are
Look what a
today.
failure I am today. Anyway, but we ran a network. I helped build 130 computers, right? We ran Ethernet throughout the whole freaking building. It was a hell of a time. We did this all in my senior year. And of course, it ran Windows NT.
Yeah.
Which gave me my first taste of running client and server operating systems, and the whole thing just fascinated me. And someone's like, hey, have you ever heard of Linux? I'm like, no, what's that? And they go, it's a free operating system. I'm like, free? You had me at free.
Yeah.
So at the time, these don't really happen anymore because they all kind of turned into just like flea markets. But there used to be this concept of a computer show. Right. Marc, you remember
Festival.
This. Yeah. Well, there was one in Allentown, which is not far from where I am. It's like an hour away at the fairgrounds.
It's right over there.
Yeah, right that way, I think.
Right over there.
Yeah, right over there.
Allentown.
So my dad and I used to go to this computer fair. I even built a computer at one of these once. So did he, I think, at one point. And I found Red Hat Linux 5.0 there. This is not Red Hat Enterprise Linux. This is Red Hat Linux 5.0. This is before RHEL was a thing.
I found my box of Red Hat Linux, and I think it's 5.1, but it's sitting next to my Fedora now.
Yeah, I think
not RHEL, Red Hat.
Right. It was still like the grayish white box.
I mean, I can get up but I'll have to, hang on.
Right. I think I still have the manual that I got with my Red Hat 5.0 disk. We're waiting for Marc. Yeah, that's the box. That's the one I remember. Anyone who's not watching the stream is like, what are they talking about? Marc has a Red Hat Linux 5.1 box.
Yeah, I bought this when I was at Merck to install it on my ThinkPad.
Yeah.
And some of the features were you got a robust multitasking workstation, a powerful internet web server, a Unix compatible computer with a 32-bit development platform. It included Netscape Navigator and Netscape Communicator.
Yes, Netscape Communicator.
You had BRU Personal Edition to back things up. Auto detection and configuration of hardware and easy hard disk partitioning. I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Quote unquote easy.
Yeah. Runs on IBM compatible PCs from the older 386 models to the newest Pentium 2s.
Pentium 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5.0. It took me.
And we had bonus CDs filled with a bunch of stuff.
I picked up Red Hat Linux 5.
X-Window windowing system.
Yeah.
See.
I picked it up, I think, at the beginning of a summer vacation, right? And it took me probably the first 3 weeks of summer vacation just to get it running on my machine. Because I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it. I'd read some articles about it. I'd read some how-tos on what it is and whatever. And it's funny. You remember ICQ?
Yes, it was a chat
network. Yeah, it was one of the first quote unquote instant messaging chat networks. Them and AOL Instant Messenger got their start around the same time, if I remember correctly.
But ICQ just ran over TCP/IP. You
didn't need to be an AOL customer to use it. So it was one of the first quote unquote open chat platforms, except it wasn't open in the true sense of open. But anyway, it was open to people.
IRC is laughing at you. But
IRC is laughing at me. But instant messaging. No, I don't mean chat, instant messaging. I might have said chat, sorry. Anyway, my point is, I met this guy on ICQ. I don't even remember how. I forget even how you found people on ICQ that weren't people you already knew and exchanged information with.
Don't know.
But he was this self-proclaimed hacker, and he was the one that told me to pick up Red Hat Linux, now that I remember. He was on Red Hat Linux 4, right? And I grabbed 5. So when I got it and installed it, I'm asking him for help. Like, hey, how does this work? How does that work? What do I do here? What do I do there? And he's giving me all the suggestions. And there were just enough differences between 4 and 5 that half of them didn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
Big surprise.
Yeah. So anyway, I got that working on that 486. I even got it dual booting so that my machine could boot into Windows. Was it 95? 95 or
Probably 95 at that point.
yeah, or Red Hat Linux, and that was just the start of it. I think that I bought Red Hat Linux 5.0, 5.1, and 5.2, and then when 6.0 came out, I started downloading instead because then I learned, right? You could just download you could download the ISO or you could download the RPMs.
Right, but so that's okay because at that point you probably still needed a CD burner because were USB bootable sticks a thing yet?
No, absolutely not.
So you download the ISO and you needed a CD burner to make the literal CD.
Yeah, I didn't have one, but I had a friend who had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was, it was just like a whole new world, right? I didn't have to go to a store.
New world.
If I remember,
Got
I
a Disney
spent
song,
I spent a
Aladdin.
whopping $20 or $30 for that Red Hat 5.0 disc. Windows was over $100 at the time.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, this was like amazing. I don't mind putting a little extra work in to make the thing work. But anyway, that led into like, okay, now once I had it running, what can I do with this thing? When I went to college, I got a new computer, so now I could dedicate the 486 to running Linux, and I could run like workstation-y style stuff and go get classwork and stuff done on the other machine. But I always wanted a Linux desktop. Like, didn't we all back then? Didn't we all want to pitch Windows? It was a dream.
It was an objective for a lot of us. And I
Yeah.
remember trying out lots of early window managers, things like Afterstep and stuff like that.
Afterstep.
Enlightenment.
I looked at that just
the
other day.
I had a
It's still around.
badass desktop on my Slackware laptop.
Enlightenment was awesome.
Cool. It was cool.
And it's, like I said, it's still around. It doesn't work that well on Fedora. In fact, which one is? I was just reading about this the other day. There is a distro that still uses Enlightenment as its default window manager.
I just have caved and used GNOME because
I use GNOME as well. Yeah, I've tried a handful of others, and none of them quite have the polish of GNOME. Maybe it's just because I'm used to all the quirks of GNOME. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, Enlightenment is awesome.
It was cool setting it up because Afterstep was sort of like that whole next.
Yes.
UI paradigm.
The thing I loved was that you could
had so much eye candy and
you could decorate window borders in Afterstep, right?
Yeah.
And in Enlightenment, you could not only decorate them, you could actually have like effects off of them. Or like,
oh, you could go crazy.
It was insane.
Go ham. Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
You could have spinning cube workspaces.
Yep.
I mean, you could do crazy shit. And nowadays, you're like, it sort of looks like a Mac, and I'm okay with that.
I'm not sure I care about all that anymore. I just want a thing to work. Yeah.
No, I just use a web browser all the time.
So, this is all before I ever had a job in IT. And that's kind of my point. The reason I told you all of this is because I wanted to kind of illustrate how this isn't just a career path to me. When I got to the college level, still no job. I started a job right around the time I started college, but I was still very new in the industry. I had this opinion because there was a steel mill here in the Lehigh Valley that closed down right around the time I went to college. And all of those steel workers were now
we're living here in Allentown.
They were all out of
the Billy Joel song is really about Bethlehem Steel.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
anyway,
I am right.
The where was I going with this? Oh, all these steel workers are now out of jobs, right? And one of the things that happened when Bethlehem Steel closed is they gave them all money to go back to college and re-educate, right? So when I went to college, I was surrounded by like half the class were these Bethlehem Steel workers who didn't have jobs, and they're like, computers, that's the thing, right? That's the thing that we have to learn now because it's the 90s and it's computers, right? So this very early on formed my opinion that there's two different types of people in IT. There are the people who are in IT because they are passionate, and there are people who are in IT because they think it's a place to make money. Both of those career paths are valid. I told you this whole story to illustrate how I'm one of the ones that are passionate. As if that wasn't apparent, right? Right, so college, I call it college. It was a business school. I got a degree out of it. I guess it's college, I don't know. The place is since closed up and gone. I don't know if my degree is even worth anything, like if those credits would be worth a damn thing. But, I have an associate's degree. And I started working at a little ISP in this area called Penteledata. I started in level 1 tech support. Oh, wait, I skipped a piece. I spent 1 day as a dishwasher in a restaurant. That was technically my first job. I was 17, and my parents wouldn't let me continue working there because the hours of a restaurant cut me there past midnight.
Oh, no.
So 1 day I spent as a dishwasher, and then I started my career in IT, working in level 1 tech support. And I want to tell you, I only told you that I worked as a dishwasher because I think it was a better job than working level 1 tech support. It was easier, probably less work. It was wetter. That's probably the only downside. I got wet as a dishwasher.
So DNF search after step. So Josh provided the website for Afterstep, which is
still
the
around?
manager I used to use. Yeah, I actually just did a git clone, but before I compile it from source, I'm seeing it does not seem to be pre-compiled for Fedora.
That's
So
annoying.
I am about to I'm about to start compiling
Afterstep. That's
after
awesome.
step from source because I actually know how to do that shit.
I want to know if it works.
You're gonna know. Let's see here because it should compile pretty quickly on my system. So let's look at the install. So /configure
And this is
So
where you
let's
find
see.
all the dependencies you don't have.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right.
Yep. So this
Let's
is
see
where
if it can get through configure. We're in good shape, I figure.
This is where the actual career part of this talks. We're 45 minutes in. I'm finally getting into the career part. Level 1 tech support, while it sucked, like having, I was level 1 ISP tech support. So like grandma that couldn't connect to the internet would call me because her modem wouldn't connect. Anyone who remembers how to dial into anything with a modem will tell you it sucked. Like there was so much that could go wrong. There could be noise on your phone line. There could be like, oh, and then it was I've got a 14.4 modem and I only connected at 9600. What's wrong? I want to go faster. I'm paying for 14.4. Like it would make a damn difference, right? But anyway, so what it did do for me though is it taught me patience, dealing with people that just don't know a dang thing about computers, right? That takes patience. And I saw a lot of people at that level of support flat out crack. There were a lot of very just not nice people that worked in that role. I did it for 7 years. No, 5 years. I did it for 5 years, right? And then I finally moved up to a network level position, which was basically this was kind of a combination of level 2 support, but not for the dial-up folks, but like for commercial customers, people who paid for a commercial cable modem or ISDN. You remember ISDN? Is that still a thing? Anyone do ISDN anymore? I think like
not usually. I mean, there are people who, because of where they live, we got an error one when I was compiling.
Are you going to troubleshoot that?
In function, implicit declaration. Oh, I don't know how I deal with this.
Totally broken. Yes, bonded ISDN, you get a whole 128K. It was amazing times. But it did, again, it taught me troubleshooting skills. I was one of those techs who wouldn't just push people off. I would try my damnedest to fix issues for customers. And unfortunately, that didn't get me the best call numbers. It got me happy customers.
Right.
But I didn't respond to calls quickly. So I was actually one of like the quote unquote worst techs they had because I wasn't answering calls quickly enough. Like the number of times I would get quote unquote disciplined because, so and so down the cubicle row had twice as many calls as I did in a month. It's like, well, sorry, how many customers did they fix? Because the percentage for me is pretty damn high. But anyway, before they got too strict on it, on like what we can support and what we can't, I actually walked someone through fdisk. over the phone once because I knew it that well from all those days in DOS. MS-DOS FDisk, helping them repartition their damn hard drive.
Yeah.
I remember one time someone called in because Windows Explorer was broken. So they would try to start their machine up and Explorer.exe wouldn't start. It would crash. Probably some kind of a virus or malware or something. But I walked them through switching. If you remember, you could switch the Windows INI back to Program Manager from the Windows 3.1 days. I walked them through that over the phone once. Again, this is all stuff we weren't allowed to do, right? This was stuff we were not supposed to do. But again, I was actually helping people, but not helping my call numbers. So anyway,
Oh boy.
network support was a much better place for me to be because I got exposed to some Cisco stuff. But what I really wanted to do was server stuff. I wanted to be. There was also a systems group at this same ISP, and the systems group was less about the ISP and more about the. Well, they did do plenty of the ISP related stuff. Like they managed DNS, they managed email, but they also managed like all the desktops and they managed the network within the building and things like that. I wanted to be there, and I tried so many times to get into that position. I probably interviewed for the position in that group like 6 times. In the total 7 years I worked at that ISP, I spent another 2 years or 1 year, I think it was 2 years in the network support role after I got out of tech support. And they kept telling me, no, they didn't think I was going to be a good sysadmin. They thought I couldn't do the job. They thought this, they thought that, whatever.
Oh, dear.
I know, right? Wish they could see me now. Maybe
That's
they do.
Rude.
Wonder if they're watching the show right now. If you're watching this show, I'm talking about you.
I'm smart, Mikey.
Yeah, right. So eventually I got fed up and I got a job working for this little web host.
Get a job.
Get a job.
Get a job.
I worked at this place for 2 years. There were 2 of us, 2 admins. When I was hired, there was a senior admin, and then I was hired in as a junior admin because while this guy recognized that I had talent, I still didn't have experience, so I was a junior admin. And at this place, I got to use every single skill I had ever learned in computers. I had to deal with Windows servers. I had to deal with Linux servers. I had to deal with FreeBSD servers, which, by the way, I don't recommend. I have scars. I had to deal with. I got introduced to like information security because one thing you learn as a web host admin is that everybody wants to break into web servers.
Yes,
and
that's where the good stuff is.
A lot of them in that era were successful, and I had to fix them because, God forbid, we rebuilt a server. No, we had to recover a server because there's customer data on there. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean backups? This is customers. They're not paying us for backups. Anyway.
Yeah, we weren't having the discussions about cattle and pets.
Yeah, right. So it was really a trial by fire. And the senior admin, again, because it was trial by fire, this place was really difficult to work for. There was so much to do, so little staff, so many servers. I mean, we probably had, by the time I left there were probably 120 servers being managed by 2 people, right? Which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but all of them were on fire. Just imagine, 120 servers, they're all on fire. And it's your job to make them not on fire. Or at least make the fire cool enough that it's still livable, Like, there's a fire over there. I just keep spraying a little water on it, but don't actually put the fire out, so I can still be here talking to you, right? I just every now and then throw a bucket on there, right? That's what it was like working for this place. When you were on call, you got called in 3 times a week, easy. At 2 a.m. It was always 2 a.m.
Always.
Anyway, I'm a little passionate about this.
Would you mind peeing on this fire, please?
Yeah, right. Can you please just no, don't put it out. Don't fix it. Just make it so the customer can't see it.
So I think I found a compiled version of AfterStep Fedora.
You're still on this.
So now I just installed the repo that should contain it. Now I'm doing no match for AfterStep.
Oh no. But I also had to deal with networking gear. I had to deal with switches. I had to deal with Cisco. I had to deal with routing. We had point-to-point T1s with a bunch of car dealerships that are in the area. I had to deal with those. I had to physically go out on site to these car dealerships every so often when they have issues with the routing equipment we had there. I had I had my hands in so many technologies there and was responsible for so many things that even though it sucked, even though I didn't get to sleep, which, by the way, prepared me for parenthood. Anyone who thinks kids keep you up at night, try working at AccuFind Internet Services. They're gone now, by the way. I can probably say that now. When I got a job offer to move into higher ed, it was like I had died and gone to heaven. Because I went from this place that was just constantly smoldering to a place that actually had a little bit of money and actually invested it in infrastructure. It was insane, right? I spent 2 years at the web host. I spent 10 in higher ed. And to be honest, most of that 10 years, I was pretty convinced that this was the place I was going to retire from, because the team was awesome. The technologies I was working with, which was primarily RHEL, there was some SUSE, some SLES, Novell NetWare. Who remembers Novell NetWare? We had Novell NetWare for a while. Well, basically, this is where I really grew into an actual responsible admin, because now, instead of having to put out fires, I could do proactive work. I could do things to make things better so that they wouldn't catch fire and fall over, right? And that was a really good experience. That was just terrific. Unfortunately, after some years, the guy who was the boss there left and actually went to Red Hat.
Good mate.
Which was, good for him, right? And then the guy they hired to replace him really took things in a different direction that I really didn't like. And, the whole thing just kind of went sour. But then this guy named Marc, who I met through the Red Hat accelerators, suggested this role at this little place called Red Hat. So, now I'm a technical account manager, and I got to be honest, it's probably one of the best roles I've ever had. The college was good, don't get me wrong. Sysadmin at the college, in its heyday, was a really good position. If things had stayed the way they were, I don't know if I ever would have left there. But, things change.
And when I tell my story, there's going to be a similar theme about Marc.
Sorry, I took a sip and got one of the ice cubes.
No, that's okay.
Anyway, so, different direction equals manager skills sucked. I'm going to say, so, here's the thing. Looking back at it now that I'm out of the situation, it's not as frustrating now as it was 2 years ago when I was still in it. I'm going to say that 90% of the quote-unquote different direction that I didn't like was the way it was delivered. Right? So it was, and anybody who's thinking about IT management, maybe this is a good lesson. The guy didn't come out and tell you anything. He didn't say, this is the new direction. He didn't say, we're thinking of moving all of our stuff to AWS. He didn't say, we're thinking of turning down the SAN and going to cloud storage. He didn't say any of that.
Keeping us down.
Right. He would make these little suggestions, right? And some of them I thought were bad ideas. So since they were just quote-unquote suggestions, I continued going under the assumption that your senior system administrator's opinion meant something, right? And when things weren't pushed in one direction or the other, I thought, things are fine, right? Well, really all he was doing was pulling the strings behind my back until basically we were moving to the cloud, right? And
this magical land,
right,
where no IT skills are required,
right? And while I don't love, I still think that the infrastructure we had at the college, when we had the expertise to run it, was probably one of the best at our level of liberal arts colleges, right? Our peers could not hold a candle to the IT infrastructure that we had when we had the expertise, because we had some freaking awesome employees. We had a systems and a network team that we all several of us came from that same ISP, right? 3 of us, in fact, Jason being one of the co-host of this show, the guy who started the show with me. We used to work at the college together. He was the lead network engineer for a while. And the 2 of us could cook up some amazing infrastructure, right? But eventually it was like there was no more interest in that. There was no interest in let's do it ourselves and do it well. It was why don't we just pay someone else to do it? And that I think is what really bothered me. Because I'm a do-it-yourself kind of guy, right? So it's kind of ironic that now I'm basically someone they pay to. I don't really do things I don't do things for them. Never mind. So yeah, that is in a nutshell where I went from, way back when, and into IT and how I got to where I am now. So folks, I guess I am sort of curious, like what you guys think of the path. I'm curious what you think of this format, what you think of this sort of segment. I've gone on for an hour now already, I think. Yeah, because we started, believe it or not, we started at 7:01.
Yeah. No, that was a fine tale.
You still trying to build Afterstep?
I'm gonna put a pin in that for now because no, so the precompiled repos seem to be pointing at the Fedora 34 version, and I'm running on 33. So I don't want to start doing the mental efforts to do this properly while trying to also be the co-host of the Iron Sysadmin.
Yeah, right. Especially
I don't think that's fair to our guests.
Since we're getting out of the Nate monologuing part.
I still think we should do a live install of Red Hat 5 on a VM on a show.
I agree.
I think that would be super fun.
Maybe we should just do it on a show night.
And not just do a live install, but then try and do something crazy like, all right, let's I don't know, like try to either play a current web-based game or like install Afterstep or something.
We could probably install Afterstep pretty easy. Isn't that just like find it on the disk and install it? Isn't it included? I don't think it
should. No, Afterstep did not ship with Red Hat.
Trying to find. I bet RPM Find still has Afterstep for Red Hat 5.
Maybe. Maybe. But you had to compile a lot of stuff. Yeah, put it on the internet without a firewall. How fast would it melt?
That's hilarious. This was before SSH, guys. Red Hat 5 shipped out of the box with Telnet enabled. I don't know if SSH was even an option.
I don't remember that, but I think you're friggin' right.
Well, I mean, I know mine was Telnet because that's how people kept breaking into it on me.
Oh. Yeah, wow.
It may have had SSH, but I didn't know what it was. But yeah, Telnet was open. That was the way you managed the damn thing. I remember the first time I
used SSH keys. I thought they were magic. I'm like, how can this be secure? I don't have to type a password.
Yeah, right. It's because it's cryptography.
Yeah. I just thought it was so cool I didn't have to type a password.
What we called what we called crypto before there was crypto.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrencies, that is. Maybe we'll talk about that later. That's the thing I wanted to talk about in chat.
Bore me.
We're going to talk about that just briefly. I kind of wish Jason was on for what I want to talk about, but oh well. Yeah. Especially since you don't like cryptocurrencies.
It's not that I don't like them. I mind a little bit of Bitcoin, don't know where my wallet is.
That's why you don't like it.
Well, decided it wasn't worth it and burning out my graphics card. And I'm just like idiots get excited about it. So, and still make poor decisions around it. But I think it's got some interesting ideas. Also, the same people who are like all concerned about like greenhouse gases and climate change and shit also tend to be similar people who hype cryptocurrency, which tells me they really don't understand how much power is burned generating cryptocurrency. So that's what we call hypocrisy.
And if there's one thing you can't stand, it's hypocrisy, right?
I have a low tolerance for hypocrisy, even though I'm often very good at it myself.
No. What are you talking about?
I can be pretty good at it, but that doesn't mean I like it. It's one of the human traits I like the least, especially when I find it in myself. But yeah, that's all. That's like the iPhone user bitching about, China when their iPhone is built in China.
Right, right. All right, so
capitalism.
Folks, we got some folks in chat that say they liked this. So cool. I'm glad you guys liked it. We'll probably do more of these, especially if folks like them. Maybe we'll do Marc next. I don't know. Depends on.
Oh, hey now.
Yeah, right. That just sounds bad. Anyway,
it's fine. I like telling my story.
Right. So we'll get Marc's story, and then we'll see if Jason's on board.
people are storytellers, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of human nature. So telling each other stories, spinning tales. I think that's such a human thing, and it's something I've always really enjoyed.
I love doing it, and this could be similar between the two of us because we both have a background in scouting.
I think there's a time shift.
But there's...
I think when I tell mine, it's going to sound a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because of the time that I came into computers.
Yeah.
And it's actually shocking how young I was making money because of my computer knowledge. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'm thinking about how much emphasis there was when I was in the Scouts on like the ability to tell a story, right?
Oh yeah,
and I think maybe that's part of it. I like to tell a story, especially a story.
We don't have time to tell it now. Thank you, Code
Tell
City.
it now. Yeah, right.
Tell it now.
We would basically just the whole show would be us telling.
No, we got to do
ourselves.
the rest of our Sysadmin stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
so
next time. We'll keep you coming back for more.
Yep.
And then I do want to get our buddy the what is his nick?
Big Damn
Hero.
Hero.
I want to use his real name, Big Damn Hero.
Yeah.
I want to get Big Damn Hero on the Iron Sysadmin, whether it's his story or whether talking about life at a certain giant ass company.
If you're still listening, Mr. Big Damn Hero, you were in chat a minute ago or a while ago, but yeah, we're gonna have to badger him till he gets on the show.
Yeah,
he's worried about.
I know,
nervous or something.
Yeah, I used to be nervous about getting on here, but the alcohol clears that up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Plus, with the people we've had on here and the people who've had to have watched us, and neither of us have gotten fired yet. I think we found a happy medium.
Look,
was that cool or what? Having Rich on last time.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we've had Rich. We've had
still
Chris
here.
Wright. We've had a few big names on.
Chris Wright was pretty cool. I gotta say, I never did I expect to have someone like Chris Wright on the show. That was awesome. Yeah. All right, so in case you guys haven't figured, we're done with this part of the show. It's time to
push the button, Frank.
Push the button.
Yes, push the button.
So we're gonna go to a break. We'll be back in I don't think too long, so don't go too far. I don't really have much reason to leave or anything, but we're gonna take a break anyway. So I'll see you guys. I don't know. Let's call it 5 minutes, maybe 10, and we'll be right back.
Hooray!
Catch you then. Are you a fan of the Iron Sysadmin podcast? If you are, don't forget you can support the show via Patreon at patreon.com/ironsysadmin. Or you can buy merchandise at teespring.com/stores/ironsysadmin. And thank you. Are you a fan of the Iron Sysadmin podcast? If you are, don't forget you can support the show via Patreon at patreon.com/ironsysadmin. Or you can buy merchandise at teespring.com/stores/ironsysadmin. And thank you. We're back, folks. Tell me in the chat, do you like the music, the hold music, or the waiting music? Because I love it. I don't get to hear it during the show, but I get to hear it when I'm doing post. And sometimes I will sit watching the YouTube video because I have to put markers in it. That's what I do. If you look back at any of our old YouTube videos, there's markers that let you jump to different parts of the show. Sometimes I will get lost in just listening to the intro music.
We've got some yes votes.
Yeah. Who is it?
Wants to know who is it? Okay.
They are just some random tracks I picked up from the YouTube Creator Library, which the reason I used that is because it's royalty free on YouTube.
No takedowns for the win.
Twitch has never given me a complaint. One of them apparently is encumbered only on Facebook because we stream to Facebook. Facebook complains to me every time we do a stream. They don't take the show down. They just mute that part of the show. I don't know.
Facebook can bite
everybody. Yeah, right. I don't know how many viewers we're really getting through Facebook, but I do it because we're able to.
Yeah. I know. Even when I post on the Facebook, and I did take a break, but now I'm back after calming down, I always tonight I put the Twitch stream. I usually drop the YouTube stream in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can certainly get you all of the... in fact, I thought this would be a simple thing.
Isn't this in the notes every week, like at the bottom of the notes?
No. So the intro music, that I put in the notes because that's licensed under Creative Commons and I have to attribute. So that's in the show notes.
It's also sort of our theme song.
It is sort of our theme song. And it's a good song. I like it. That's Tritachyon Tritachyon is the group. I have to look it up.
They should just rename it the Iron Sysadmin.
It is Tritachyon by Digital MK2.
They should just rename it the Iron Sysadmin.
It's a good song.
Really
I've used it.
Theme song now.
I've used it in a few YouTube videos on my Jeep channel just because I had it handy, and I just think it's an awesome song.
All right.
So anyway, it's Creative Commons. You can find it on the Free Music Archive. That's where I got it from. But anyway, yeah, the others, if you guys are interested, I can get you a list of what they are. But yeah, there you go. It's good. So, Kurtzy? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
As part of Italian, I want to call him Curiziti, like the delicious pasta.
There's too many vowels in that name. Anyway, yeah. So
I'm mostly German and Italian.
Yeah.
So I switch to whichever one is convenient for the stereotype at the moment.
Okay, that's good. All right, so this is the part of the show where we give you guys our usual housekeeping stuff. The first thing we do in housekeeping is thank all of our patrons. You guys are awesome.
Yay!
A few of you are watching live right now.
Yay!
I'm going to have to cut that one out, though. That was even better. That was all over the place, Mark. All right, so we've got 21 patrons getting us about 108 a month, which is pretty damn cool, considering where we came from.
Yeah, 21 patrons, not as cool a song as 21 Pilots. And by the way, my daughter's telling me that there's not actually 21 pilots in that band. It's just like two guys. So that seems like false advertising.
Totally is. Are either of them pilots?
Probably not. So it's total garbage.
Total fake. Total fake. All right, so... right. We're going to read a list now. Can I read the list, Mark?
Sure.
Okay, while your mouth is full of bourbon?
Yeah.
Right, so...
I'm surprised they didn't try and breathe.
Arinomi, Andrew, Tatro, rootisgod, Bruce, Robert, Matt, David, Solemn with a 3 in it and a 0, I think. Trooper-ish, Linux Sys 666, gimpyb, Marc with a K, DeMentor, John, the nice guy, Marc with a C, Julius, Andy, Jay, Charles, and our good old friend 22532. 2 indeed.
Our favorite patron.
Actually,
we love all our patrons.
Yeah, there is no favorite
is
patron.
2 is the one that I, mad cred, because 2 stood with us first, long before my time even.
Yes. But the show might have been not even a year old when he showed up. It's pretty cool. Or they showed up. I keep saying
I
he.
hope
I don't know.
2 is listening wherever
Yes,
2 might be.
Absolutely. I hope so. All right. Let's see. Well, that's it. We don't have any new reviews. I don't think I have any other announcements. Oh, one thing that was awesome. I didn't get to talk about it on our last show, even though I probably should have. We finally had an in-person DEF CON 610 meetup.
Oh.
Last week. The first since the pandemic. Last time we met in person was February 2020.
I remember February 2020.
And we were not sure we should have in February 2020. March 2020, we pretty much the moment the meetup was over in February 2020, we're like, we're not going to have them. We're going to have them virtual until this blows over. And of course, it never did.
But it's sort of blowing over now.
Sort of.
That's good.
Sort of.
I couldn't make it last week, but I really, really, really want to try to make it next time.
I got to have 2...
What's the date of the next one?
It's the first Wednesday of every month. So
first Wednesday of
whatever that is.
Okay.
But I got to have 2 Irish stouts at Two Rivers Brewing, and I got to have their short rib poutine, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I got to meet up with some old friends who I have not seen in forever. At least not in person.
Now I feel personally attacked by, I believe that's Andi, saying it's safer than a cruise.
Safer than a cruise.
Because my wife and I went on a Disney cruise right at the beginning of the pandemic. I did not catch COVID on the cruise. If I caught COVID
it was
anywhere,
at the airport?
It was either at the Orlando airport or at the friggin' Nazareth Giant. And even money on both of those. There was a TSA agent who confirmed had COVID in Orlando. Not even Newark. Like, Newark is the dive airport. You'd figure it would be Newark Airport, but no, it was more than likely Orlando.
Is that how you say that as an actual native New Jersey? It's Newark?
Newark, yeah.
Newark.
Newark Airport.
It's pronounced...
The pigeons and the hookers.
It's like it's spelled N-O-R-K?
It's
basically
one syllable.
How that sounds? Newark.
It's one syllable, Newark.
Newark. Okay.
Yeah. Newark is the fruity one in Delaware.
Yeah,
that's the town in Delaware.
Here
but it's
in
Newark Airport.
Here in PA, we usually call it Newark.
Well,
almost like New York without the y.
You guys also say Bethlehem, and you put yet at the end of sentences for no reason.
It's totally Bethlehem yet.
You also call it prom instead of the prom. You do guys do a bunch of weird linguistic things.
We're just
Although
weird.
I love local dialects. I'm actually fascinated by it.
I call it crick instead of creek.
Yeah, that's pretty Pennsylvanian,
which is
sure.
pretty redneck, right? For someone who's so steeped in technology.
Yeah, you're a tech neck.
Tech neck. Okay, that'll work.
You're a tech neck. I just made that totally up. Maybe I did. I mean, maybe someone else came over before, but
could be.
It feels like I just made it up.
Could be. You totally just made it up. All right. So anyway, no new reviews. Is what it is,
to
right?
Infuriate somebody again. I got to work on my game.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, even negative reviews or something. Redneck technologist.
I don't know if I've gotten over it yet. So yeah.
Is that like a redneckologist? No. Right. So no reviews, and that's pretty much it for the housekeeping.
Do we have a musical interlude at this point, or we just go right to chat?
I mean, we could if you want to, except
I don't know if there's a musical thing.
Well, it's not usually the normal one, but we can do this.
The magic of chat.
How was that? Was that a good?
That was
a good transition.
Yeah. Anna, Elsa, and Olaf really liked that transition.
They liked that one.
Sound. They're floating around.
That's
let it go, let it go. Make the magic unicorn sound. All right, very good.
Let's see what else I have handy here. That here. How about this?
No.
I have the sounds I was using during our D&D campaign. There you go.
EverQuest
Anyway.
combat music, right?
No, that's not EverQuest combat music. That's Final Fantasy VII. When you
need
finished,
EverQuest combat music.
No, I've got this though. Oh, and I do
Yay!
have the combat music.
I just leveled.
There you go.
No, Warcraft is an inferior leveling ding. That obnoxious, discordant ding is classic EverQuest. And EverQuest, unlike WoW, you could unding. Like you'd make a level and then some idiot would overpull and you de-level.
You would de-level. Yeah. One night I lost like 3 levels in a night, and I'm just like, I'm done. No more.
Did you ever get into a binding death loop, or were you never that stupid?
No, that I cannot say.
That's where you'd have it. You'd have an int caster set your bind point at a spot in the zone. Where trains would sometimes hit. You'd die. You'd respawn at your bind point, and the monsters were still there.
No,
and you were naked and had no hit points to speak of, so you'd die again, and you'd continue to lose experience until you de-leveled to, I think, level 10.
Yeah, I always had my bind points set at the entrance to a town where there were guards.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah. No, if you were smart, you did that. And then they added in the soul binders where anybody could bind themselves.
Yeah, I'd stopped playing EverQuest before
as they sissified the game.
Yep. They also had those portals that they set up so you could port anywhere without having to pay a wizard.
Oh, yeah, the plane of knowledge, which was great at first, but it made the size of the world inconsequential.
Yeah. The number of times I spent an evening, right? So when I was still in level 1 tech support, we had a bunch of folks who were playing EverQuest. We'd talk about EverQuest all day long. We would talk about EverQuest all day long, and then we'd go home and play EverQuest at the end of the night, right? Because we were working like the 1 to 10 shift. I'd get home by like 10:30. I'd log into EverQuest. Like I'd get my Cheetos and a Pepsi or a Mountain Dew, and I'd sit down and play EverQuest until 2 or 3 in the morning. And the number of times that whole night was spent walking from Freeport to Quinos. It was like...
Yeah, I was playing EverQuest last summer, pandemic summer.
Yeah,
and it reminded me, quite frankly, of why I stopped playing EverQuest, because in the end, all you did was grind at a camp, to level up, so you could grind at the next camp. There's no questing really to speak of, except to the most rudimentary sense.
There was.
Yeah, very rudimentary.
That is the piece, because I've very frequently, while playing other MMOs, I've thought back to the EverQuest days and how much quote unquote better it was. Even though when I left EverQuest, I couldn't leave fast enough, right, to the next thing, which I think was Dark Age of Camelot was where I went to.
I played that for a spell. That game had so much promise and was so its reach exceeded its grasp.
EverQuest's.
It's just the tech couldn't handle it.
EverQuest's questing system, not necessarily the number of quests, but the system is what I liked the most. It was that conversational questing system.
Right.
Where you would walk up to a random NPC and say hi, and there would be a keyword, and you'd have to you could just say the keyword, but you could literally role play and work that keyword into a sentence as though you're talking to this.
I remember that.
To me, and it wasn't like you're walking around and there's an NPC with an exclamation point above his head.
No
or a question mark. Points. There was no indication. It was just like you have to go and explore and you have to try things. You have to talk to NPCs.
And all those NPCs were killable.
They were. Even the guards and everything.
The zone had respawn timers, but if someone killed an important NPC for a quest, he was dead until the zone respawned.
Yep.
There was no you can't kill me flag.
Yep.
Everything in that game was killable.
There were things about EverQuest which were, I think, the perfect mechanic for an MMO. And then there were other things like the grinding, right? Like if they fixed the experience scale so that it was not so difficult to get between levels and there wasn't so much like boring grind in between, I think that game would still be very relevant today. Because I think it was a good game.
Yeah. I think that's where so we really haven't even gotten to the proper chat yet, but that's one reason why I'm kind of a fan of Valheim. Which, for those of you who aren't aware, Valheim is a Viking game, and I actually run a server. And Nate, it's not an MMO, right? It's ideal in like 3 or 4 players at a time.
Yeah.
And so Nate and another guy from work are regulars on it. And what, like, in Valheim, when you die, your tombstone drops there, and all your stuff is there, and you respawn naked.
Yep.
And you have to go get your stuff back. Now, the tombstones will not decay. That's different than Everquest, where your corpse would eventually decay.
Yeah.
But the game don't give a shit. Like, you better have backup gear. And the big monsters that spawn, like the trolls and stuff, they don't despawn. Once they spawn in, they're there until somebody kills them.
Yeah,
We've got that 2-star troll north of our base that's been crashing around in the woods for a long time now because we just haven't wanted to deal with it.
Yeah.
And one of these days, we're either going to have to deal with it or it's going to kill us when we're not ready.
Valheim has this really interesting feel of a cross between a truly persistent world, like, I guess Everquest would be the same sort of persistent world, or some MMOs.
Well, but Everquest was a static world. You couldn't change the world in Everquest.
But it was
like Ultima Online was like you could chop trees and do stuff in Ultima Online and a persistent.
Honestly, Minecraft is the best example that comes to mind. It is,
because it's a total. Except for very few locations, you can pretty much build anywhere in Valheim.
Yeah, you're right. You can build just about anywhere in Minecraft. You can destroy just about anything in Minecraft. And if you're running it on a server that's up all the time, it is truly a persistent world, right? Yeah. If you build a thing, it will be there, right?
Yeah.
Valheim takes that and crosses it with an RPG. Maybe not even, I guess, an RPG, because there's a skill system.
Yeah, it's an RPG.
Yeah.
Now, and think about, like, there are RPG, like Valheim is very much about your equipment.
Yeah.
And the food you eat. Because the food provides the various buffs.
That is a really neat mechanic.
It is. And they're going to actually change the food system. There was a news update today where you can customize, they're going to add a lot more recipes, and you can customize the food you eat better. Like, maybe you want to be a tank, so you'll eat food that like increases your health much more and your health regen, or you want to be like an archer or something, so you'll eat food that targets your stamina. So
and there'll be different recipes for different foods that'll do these things. That's pretty cool.
Right now, the way we're playing it is you can eat 3 foods, right? So we got the carrot soup, the turnip stew, and the sausages. And those are our 3 best foods we know how to make right now. After this Hearth and Home update, which should be hitting in the summer, we'll now have a bigger variety of foods probably to pick from. So,
but they'll all do different things.
Our one friend Walt, he likes stamina a whole lot. He likes doing a lot of the archery stuff, where I tend to like tank stuff. So we'll probably end up preferring different food combos. Or even there'll be food that's for situational. Like when you're building, you want stamina above all else to be able to run around and build and stuff. So yeah. Valheim's key though. But I think that's one reason I like it, because it's got that danger. Like Everquest, one of the things that always appealed to me with Everquest is something that certain people just were like, oh, it's unforgiving. It's got a harsh death penalty.
It does.
Yeah, because negative consequences make your victories that much sweeter.
Around the time you were playing Everquest, a week or 2 later, I think you had already gotten back out of it because you were sick of it again already.
Well, because
I got curious and I set up Everquest. This is on one of the emulated servers. Was that where you were playing?
I was playing the legit production server.
Okay.
It was, I forget whether or not it was a progression server. It was a progression server, and it was still prior to Kunark.
EQ Emulator there's a bunch of
Project 99 has been around forever.
Yes, Project 1999 is what I was playing on, and there are a few very good servers. That's one of them, right? I was playing on that, right? And my daughter saw me playing it, and she's like, "Ooh, can I play?" I'm like, "Sure, why the hell not?" Right? It's essentially free. There's no subscription fee or anything. Let's set you up. And I went through all the hoops, and I got Everquest set up on another machine so she could play. And we're in what's the High Elves home?
High Elves Fadwar?
Fadewar.
Fadewar?
We were in the forest.
So you were
outside,
in
right?
you were in
It's like Great Ark or something.
There's two of them. I think it's Greater Fey.
Fey,
because
right.
Lesser Fey is
Fadark.
the more
Fadark
dangerous
is
one.
what it is.
Yeah, Fadark. Yeah.
So we're in Fadark, and you remember Fadark, I'm sure. It's foggy everywhere and it's dark everywhere. You can't see far, right?
It's kind of in the name.
So we're beating up on
I
little
like Butcher Block a lot better.
We're beating up like beetles and stuff, and she just like walks off.
Not a good plan.
And I'm just like, no, you can't do that here. You can't walk off in Everquest
because there's no. Too far,
this
you go
was
too far north. You're going to run into the orcs.
This was a Project 1999 server. There was no map because it was before Everquest implemented a map.
But couldn't you use EQ maps, or there was no map interface in the game?
No,
my point is Alakazam printed out.
My point is I couldn't track her.
Oh yeah,
right. So I had no idea where she went, and now I'm like, oh no, she's gonna get slaughtered.
Just have her type /Loke.
Yeah, right, and that's the way you find people in Everquest. What's your lock, right? Anyway. My point is, like, I had a minor panic attack because I'm trying to show her the game, and she walks off, and she didn't die. I ended up finding her before she got slaughtered by something.
Tiny Tim, who did not die.
But that's exactly the kind of game Everquest was, right?
Valheim can be like that.
Completely unforgiving, completely not friendly, right? It is like awesome. It is like you're standing in the dark forest with nothing but your tiny little newbie dagger to protect you, right? That's the feel of EverQuest. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we've gone enough about EverQuest.
We have.
What do you have going on, Marc? Anything fun?
So, honestly, like I pointed out in the notes, like it's summer, so I'm. Like we had a canoe trip with the scouts, had a so the nerd stuff isn't as much as I'd like it to be. However, I did smoke a mean pork butt last weekend. A friend of ours, she had a baby shower thrown for her, but it was really a picnic, and it was pretty awesome. So it was the baby BQ, and my pork butt, just the shredded pork, just had lots of compliments. So the big green egg, as usual, delivered. The 3D printer is a complete success. I mean, I'm not printing a lot lately, but when I do, it's just been solid. Like I printed my daughter out a few bear things, and it just bam, they really Monoprice dealt with the stuff that was just giving me a hard time. So my 3D printer is just working. So yay for that.
I printed this for my daughter. It's actually a koala, which is technically a bear.
It is a bear, but it's not technically. It is a bear.
Yeah, it is a bear.
I've been a little lax on the streaming. I actually was all set to do a flight. Not last week. Maybe it was last weekend I don't remember. I was all set to do a flight, and the problem with Flight Simulator 2020, virtual reality, and all this other stuff is that some of the pieces move, like get patched and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm there, and I got everything set up in VR. I got my overlays set up. I fire up OBS. I start the stream, and I'm just like a couple of minutes into like the stream intro, and friggin' Flight Simulator just explodes and crashes. So I'm like, oh, F this. And I'm done. And I just stopped the stream. And then later I went back and killed that video from Twitch because it was pointless. So that was super frustrating. So what I got to do is I got to get, because there was just a patch with Flight Simulator.
Broke something.
And well, no. And Steam VR warned me that my video drivers, when I was setting that up, my video drivers, I needed to update to these beta drivers because they fixed a crash bug. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. and then bam, it exploded. So my video drivers have since the fixes went production. Everything is up to date now. So I gotta get back into the broadcasting, the flying. But one thing I'm seriously considering doing is there's this game that I've been a fan of since 2006, No Man's Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if I talked about it on the stream, but they did a VR patch for it back when I first got the Vive. Oh, by the way, you need to come get the Vive.
I really
Back
do.
when I first got the Vive. And the neat thing about it is you suddenly had a complete game that was like virtual reality. And they specifically made all different control schemes for it and the perspective getting in and out of vehicles and stuff. And I have streamed Valheim, by the way. And maybe we'll stream Valheim again when the three of us are playing again. I'm responding to chat.
Yep, I see.
But what I'm thinking of doing is I have a regular save where I've got a lot of stuff. I've got a survival save where when you die, you lose your inventory. Normally when you die, you leave a grave and you can go back and get your stuff. But there's a mode called Permadeath, which is like old Diablo 2 hardcore, where if you die, you're dead.
That's it.
So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm considering doing a stream only No Man's Sky VR permadeath playthrough. Now, if I die in the first 15 minutes, I'll restart, but just kind of stream the whole experience and see how far I can get in permadeath. Yeah. So that's going through my noggin right now. So
I'm just watching the little video that's on their website. It looks like an interesting game.
It's
I've never
a fun
played
game.
This.
And it's got multiplayer, so that's fun. Yeah.
In space.
It occasionally throw it on your Steam wish list because it apparently goes on sale for half price. And the game has a fascinating story where when they shipped it, there was a lot of stuff missing and it really they railed on it. And Hello Games has spent the past, oh my God, it's almost like 5 years adding stuff and fixing it and just making it into a fantastic game. It's like an amazing comeback story on how to go from an overhyped thing that shipped as a steaming pile of garbage to a legitimately fantastic game, which is it's almost like being in the holodeck. I mean, my first stream with it will probably be me introducing people to the game and showing this is my normal playthrough. Here's my freighter fleet. Here's some of my cool ships. And now I'm going to start a brand new save and start with nothing. And then see how far I can get.
I came across a YouTuber. He does reaction videos, right? So I'm sure you're familiar with the concept, right?
You know, I got to admit, reaction videos are one of my pseudo guilty pleasures.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Some of them. So this guy, all right. So step back one more layer. There's a YouTuber named.
Ogres have layers.
There's a YouTuber named Frogleap Studios. He does metal covers of various songs. I mean, everything. He did the Wheels on the Bus. He did the which theme song was it? It was a theme song to some kids TV show. He's done like Adele's Hello.
I like this guy Dan Vasque. I think he's Brazilian.
Okay.
He's done some great covers.
Well, this other guy I ran across. So, all right, one of the most epic songs Leo, which is Frogleap Studios, has done is a cover of both Toto's Africa. That's one of his most popular songs. And the other is Sultans of Swing. Both of them are awesome. If you've never seen those two videos from Frogleap Studios, go watch them. They're amazing. If you watch Africa, don't turn it off when the song is over, because he does an outro at the end of every song, and the one at the end of Africa is better than the song. It's amazing.
I'll keep that in mind.
Anyway, this other guy, old school nerd.
This other guy?
He calls himself old school nerd. He's just like, your average dad. He's a metalhead. And he found Frogleap, and he does reaction videos. Like, literally, the day Frogleap releases a video, that evening, this guy's got a reaction video up, right? Well, so I subscribed to his channel, and I found just the other day, he live streams D&D. You and I have talked about live streaming D&D. He live streams him and his players via Discord playing Roll20 D&D.
Via what now?
Via, hold on, I gotta find the freaking buttons.
Discord!
Thank you.
So anyway, I think we should revisit that sometime.
We need to clear it with everybody, and I don't know how awkward it would be, but it's okay.
No, I get that. Maybe it's sometime in the future we have a campaign that is meant to be streamed, and everyone that's playing is okay with it.
Gotta get back to Nordock one of these days, though.
So anyway, that is not at all what I wanted to chat about tonight, but I didn't have much to chat about anyway, so it's fine.
That's fine.
Let's see. What do I have going on? I'm currently tearing apart the suspension on my Jeep. I know a lot of people that watch this show probably don't care about something like that, but it's needed work for quite a while. I'm literally pulling the axles out, putting all new control arms, new springs, new shocks, everything but the brakes and steering are getting replaced. the whole shebang, right? It's gonna. I hope it takes me less than a month because I want to get it back on the road by the end of June. But this whole week, I've had no time to work on it. Maybe next week. We'll see.
Yeah, this guy does some of the. But this guy Dan Bask, he does some killer cover. He does a cover, and you're gonna laugh at me. He does a cover of "I'll Make a Man Out of You." That's pretty tight. He also does. He does the My Mother Told Me, the song of the Vikings. His covers are fun. Oh, and it looks like he did a cover of Africa too.
A lot of people have, but yeah, the one Frog Leap did is just amazing. Now I'm really tempted to go look it up.
Yeah, you might like this guy though. And I threw his channel in the show notes.
If I could type.
If I could type.
Oh, now there's an ad.
I use Brave.
Yeah, well, I'm on my phone here. Or this other phone.
Wait, what? Why would we campaign without drinking? What the heck? Did I miss you say something?
No, I didn't say anything about not drinking. Why would I do that?
Big Damn Heroes campaigning without drinking. Crazy talk.
That's insane. Why would you do that?
I don't think that was even implied, dude. Oh, I hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna...
My son is obsessed with Africa.
You need to hear... These vocals do it.
Yeah, check out Dan's channel. I think if you like this, you'd like Dan. No, why would we not drink while streaming? Come on, Adam. We drink.
Okay. I'm just going to turn this down. We're going to play it in the background while... So this is the end of Africa. Sorry, that's just amazing. Anyway, this is the outro.
Hi guys, thanks for checking out my video. I just want to say...
Like any outro. So yeah, we're just going to turn this down. Let it play in the background.
I don't know where this rumor about no drinking keeps coming from, but I totally deny it.
I'm sorry, but no drinking is not an option. You cannot, unless you're playing with children, you cannot not drink while playing D&D. It's just the way it is.
I've spent so much time in scouting where I can't drink.
Right.
That, yeah, I'm willing to not drink with the scouts, but other social events, no.
So the other thing I'm doing is, you remember I talked probably a year ago. What's that?
Yeah, you keep screwing around with the light bulbs.
Yeah, right. So I talked like a year ago about having bought a bunch of C by GE light bulbs. Not even a year. It might be like Christmas era. I think it was like Black Friday I bought a bunch of these things. They suck. Don't buy them. They're trash.
I never did buy them.
They're trash. Anyone listening to this show, don't buy C by GE Direct Connect light bulbs. They suck.
Why do they suck, Nate?
They suck because their whole point of these bulbs is that they're supposed to natively work with your Home Assistant. Not Home Assistant. That's not actually, they don't work with Home Assistant. Home Assistant is a whole other thing. Your Smart Assistant, your Google Home or your Amazon funny lady in a box. They work, but will randomly stop working. And trying to get them to work again is frustrating beyond belief. Sometimes all you have to do is wait, and they just start to work again. Sometimes you have to like power them off and back on again, and they start to work again. Sometimes you have to hard reset them and re-add them to your Google Home. Now, I use them with Google. I don't know if it's different on the Amazon stuff, but they suck. Don't buy them. I'm replacing them all with Tasmota bulbs from At Home. At Home. ATHOME. I don't know how you pronounce that. But you can get them on AliExpress. I can put a link in here if you guys want, but they are so much better. They're local controlled. You set up a Home Assistant box at home. It doesn't have to go to a stupid cloud provider to turn on your freaking light bulb. That's my rant for tonight. C by GE sucks. Don't buy them.
I love that issue that your neighbor was having there.
What?
AO.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's Andi.
Yeah, I think so.
If the power flickered, all the lights would turn on at full blast.
Oh, yeah.
At 2 a.m. My house, it's haunted.
That's the other thing, right? So... Oh, the outro's over. I better stop this now. Okay, so this is a box that one of the new bulbs came in, but this is the C by GE bulb, which they're surprisingly heavy. I don't know why they're so damn heavy, but they are. They're full of lead, maybe. Looks like
they're full of shit.
Yeah, right. They're full of shit. Yes, they're
content rated E. Yeah.
They are not configurable to the point where you can do something like tell it what state it should be on power failure. It assumes that if you've cut the power and cut it back on, the light should come on, right? Which probably makes sense from a light bulb perspective.
It makes sense for a goddamn server, but not for a light bulb.
Well, no, it makes sense for a light bulb only in that... Hold on, I gotta stop this before it starts playing the next video on YouTube. It makes sense in that I walk into a room and I hit the light switch. I want the light to come on.
Yeah, all
right.
Right?
Right. Normally, with the smart bulbs, I leave the light switch on all the time. So if the light stops working, all you do is flip the light switch off and back on again, and the light comes on.
You reboot the light.
Right.
So Andy's neighbor
is,
apparently bought UPSs for his lambs, which seems to be a serious overkill.
The problem is places like your bedroom where you're sleeping at 2 in the morning, right? And the power might flicker. You don't want the lights to come back on. Well, guess what the Tasmota bulbs let you do? They let you tell it what state to go in when the power comes back on.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Because, why wouldn't you want to configure that?
Do they let you schedule? Do they let you do it via time of day? Like if it's after 10 p.m., don't bring it back on. If it's like after 7 a.m., it can come on.
The bulb itself won't let you do that. You might be able to do it with Home Assistant.
What the hell good is it?
Well, the bulb itself is running on this little microcontroller called an ESP8266, and it's just not that smart. It doesn't know what time it is.
I don't know.
The bulb.
I just have regular light bulbs in my house.
You're right.
I'm in the Rich Dorito school of thought.
Light bulbs should be light bulbs.
If my light bulb can't run SE Linux, then I don't want it to be smart. Because that's the kind of thing you could overload and explode.
That's probably valid. So yeah, the other day, so your 3D printer is right behind you. Mine's in the basement, and in the basement, of course, it's dark. But in the basement, it's also hard.
That's why the monsters like it.
Yep,
down there.
it's also hard to reach from my office. So I have an Octoprint server plugged into it. The Octoprint server has a camera, so I can monitor the print if I need to. So if I'm up here working, I can see what's printing on the printer and make sure it's not printing spaghetti, right? That doesn't work when the lights are off. So now I have a smart bulb above the printer, and through Home Assistant, it can tell when the Octoprint server is telling the printer to print and automatically turn on the bulb, which is pretty damn cool, I think.
That is cool. I'll give you that. That's cool.
So yeah, that's my current thing.
We're gonna have no time for the news at this point.
Yeah, well, there's not that much news.
That's true.
Well, I guess there is. There's 4 articles. the other thing is, I've told you about.
You're
I
still
forget
working
if I.
on that hex lamp?
Yeah, I forget
How
if I
far
talked
along
about
is it?
this on the show. I have all the things printed.
Now you just need to build it.
So I think last time on the show I showed you a shoebox full of doll parts. Now I've got a shoebox full of hexagons. Although it's not a shoebox. I have an Amazon box full of hexagons.
Well, there you go.
With any
Much less creepy than
with any luck, it's going
than
right.
doll body parts.
It's going to go right in this empty spot right here underneath my red hat.
Okay. Do you think we're going to see that by next show?
I don't know. I got to order an LED strip and a control board.
So no.
And then I got to make them work.
No,
so
not
I don't know.
Happen within the next 2
I'm not going to make any promises. How's that?
I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. I don't see it happen.
Especially considering I'm still working on the Jeep. Yeah, I probably won't have time to.
When is the next show? Am I at summer camp the next show? I gotta look.
I don't know.
So no, I won't. If it's the 24th, I'll be here.
I'm at the rye-soaked cherry part of my old fashioned though, and this is always the best part.
Yeah, I need more parts for old fashions. I made a poor man's old fashioned last time, but now I'm out of bitters, and I didn't have any. I didn't have cherries. I didn't have the citrusy fruit to put a peel in. So I gotta. But honestly, I kind of feel like in my mind the pandemic is almost over. Like I don't have to wear a mask in Giant anymore, and so I can just run over there to get the stuff I want.
Did the mask stop you from doing that before?
It was psychological more than anything, to be honest. It's like, do I feel like dealing with morons who won't mask properly and stuff like that, you know?
I gotta tell you, it's weird. Like now is weird because
but it's a good weird. I think it's a good weird.
When I walk into a store now, I find that I'm constantly paranoid that somebody thinks I should have a mask on.
Well, you know, my youngest daughter is like that. She's actually past her 2 weeks with her second shot, and she'll still wear a mask because she's just kind of like, that's just her, and that's fine. But she'll bust my balls about putting a mask on. I'm like, no, no, I don't want to.
It's to be honest, unless
because I'm following the guidelines.
Unless I know for certain that a particular store has removed their mask mandate.
Oh, I'll wear it with a mask.
Well, no, yeah. I still by default wear it.
Well, Giant specifically says if you are vaccinated, you don't need to wear it.
Right, but so, I mean, if I walk into a store and I don't see a sign,
but then that'll put. I mean, I have one with me all the time when I go out because, again, I'm going to respect what the business owner wants.
Right, but no, I mean, I default to wearing it when I don't know, is what I'm saying.
Okay, and you know what?
I feel
we're probably still in that phase.
I feel very paranoid about it, and I don't think I should. You know what I mean? But so many people have been judging everybody else based on whether they should or shouldn't. Like so many people that are opposed are judging people that wear them, and so many people that are pro-mask are judging people that aren't. It's like I'm constantly worried.
Yeah. I'm just trying to take the very red hat approach of assuming positive intent right now.
Yeah.
You know, and if someone's not wearing a mask, I'm going to assume that they're really vaccinated. Now, if someone's wearing a shirt that says I identify as vaccinated, I might punch him.
My God, I hate that.
Oh, that's offensive on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But whatever. But the point is, I feel like we're sort of almost on the other end of this thing, and it's going to take time for everybody to feel comfortable again.
What I'm kind of getting sick of is the news trying to hold on to the panic.
Well, that's what news does, right?
Yeah.
News always does. That's tale as old as time.
If I have to hear if I have to hear one more news report about some new variant in China or whatever, right?
But you know what's always in the second or third paragraph, Nate? That the vaccines are effective against those variants.
Yeah, but they don't tell you that in the headline.
No, because if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
That's news.
Yep.
Yeah. But now we're going down a dark rabbit hole. I'd rather end on a more positive note.
But speaking of news, I went and switched off of the right panel on the thing.
Hit the button.
I just realized I haven't opened up the news articles. We were too busy talking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I put 3 out of 4 of them in here, so I should at least have some
I'm
idea
looking
of what
at the
they
Facebook
are. Right?
Watch one.
Yeah, right. So, would you put Facebook on your wrist?
No.
Neither would I.
My goal is as soon as I can is to reasonably permanently leave Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that's going to be because I realize that there is like I miss Chuck's memes and I found a few things when I was on my little break. I'm like, oh, this will be cool to post. Oh crap, I can't, right? But yeah, I am not going to oh, there's a chat inside of the Google Doc, but there's nothing in it. I'm not going to I hope to never get as deep into it as I was. So
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna buy a Facebook Watch to put on my wrist because I don't trust them.
If I could convince the
I don't wear a
people,
smartwatch anyway. I mean, to me, not having to wear a watch is a victory.
yeah, right, right. No, I
Like,
wear
why do I
one
want to go
because
back
this.
to that?
Well, this does heart rate monitoring and it does step counting and whatever. It's a Fitbit,
When I want that, I wear a Fitbit.
but it's
right?
not. It's not like
This Fitbit's kind of garbage.
it's not Amazon connected. It doesn't talk to Google Assistant. It's literally a watch with a pedometer. I mean, yes, it syncs to my phone, but whatever. Anyway,
Maybe I should just buy an Apple Watch.
didn't you just say how you don't want to wear a watch? So you don't want to wear a watch. You're going to consider buying a $500 one?
No, but if I'm gonna if I'm gonna get a smartwatch, I'm gonna get an Apple Watch because I'm an iPhone consumer.
Seriously though, the Fitbit is a great happy medium. It's not overcomplicated. It tells you the time. It'll give you notifications from your phone if you want it to, and it tracks fitness. That's about it. It doesn't do much else, and that's kind of what I like about it. It's also not as expensive as an Apple Watch.
Well,
but
hell,
anyway,
the Series 3 is $200. The SE is $279. The Series 6 is $399.
Yeah, see, $400.
That's not $500. You're
It's totally $500. In a world where everything is exaggerated, it's $500. Anyway, what we're talking about now though is Facebook apparently wants to make a watch.
Good for them. I'm not going to buy it.
They want to make a watch with cameras in it.
Yeah, imagine that.
Because they're all about sharing stuff on social media. So, I'm going to amend the previous question. Would you wear a watch from Facebook with cameras all over it?
Since I don't plan on wearing a watch from Facebook ever, you can imply every question you ask me about would you wear a watch
right. I know.
from Facebook is going to be no.
It's a rhetorical question, right? So
I should buy this.
I don't. You're going to buy you go from I hate wearing watches to I'm going to buy an Apple Watch within one article, Mark. One article.
My friend the pilot was showing me that it could do an EKG, and
the Apple Watch is a nice watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Are you gonna lie?
Jason has one if he really wanted to talk to somebody with an Apple Watch.
I've seen him in person. My daughter's boyfriend bought her one.
They're neat watches.
He's a quality guy.
When I had an iPhone, I was considering buying an Apple Watch, but the price was really what turned me off.
Yeah, whatever. I didn't order it if it makes you feel any better.
Okay, you'll order as soon as I'm not looking.
No, maybe I'll go to the maybe what I'll do is I'll go to the Crapple store over at Lehigh and look at them in person.
There you go. Anyway,
just buy it there.
I remember when smartwatches first showed up, and I'm like, oh, that would be amazing. But they were all like this big.
Yeah, the problem is this Fitbit, which was honestly not. I mean, yeah, I could buy 3 of these.
Yeah.
But this Fitbit, its battery life got terrible very quickly, and it's gotten inconsistent. So, I honestly, rather than buying another Fitbit, might just go go with the watch.
I had an Android Wear watch for about 1.5 years before I had the Fitbit, and to be honest, I didn't like it that much, and it was kind of annoying, just in the way that it handled notifications and stuff. And then it got slow because it's Android. I had it 1.5 years. It's time to buy a new one, is what what it was trying to tell me, I think. No, but the Fitbit I've had for, is it 1 year? 1.5 years? 1.5 years now.
My original Fitbit I had a real long time. but this one, which I replaced, this one's just been disappointing.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah. Well, this is like full touchscreen style Fitbit. It's a step up from the just plain old pedometer. And
Yeah.
well, anyway,
Now you got me thinking, because again, looking at the new Apple Watches with the heart rate stuff, I mean, 400. It's not that. And I got a sizable amount of spending money that I can just buy whatever the hell I want with in my personal account. So I might do it.
did you know Facebook made a phone?
But no, screw Facebook. They're not.
Well, that's the article, right? I'm just there's a pop quote in here that says Facebook's track record for making hardware is spotty, and it says Facebook in 2013 made a phone with HTC.
Good for them.
I had no idea. You have to disclose sales for its Oculus VR. I'm so disappointed that they took over Oculus.
Oh, they finally. Okay, they paid my phone bill. Gotcha. That's right. No, my expenses came through, so that was good.
Yeah, I won't talk about it on the show, but I have a little bit of frustration with that too. But anyway.
What? With the expenses?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into it now, though.
Okay.
Just recent.
We'll talk
anyway,
Monday.
Yeah, or we can talk after the show, whatever. So yeah, Facebook, they want to make a watch, and they want it to have cameras on it. And apparently they want it so that you can like pop the body of the watch off of your wrist to take a picture and then put it back on. It's weird. It's a weird idea.
What the hell did I buy on Amazon?
And I think 1 billion people are going to buy them, and that scares me.
Oh, 1 billion people will definitely buy them.
Because they're all Facebook addicts. Yeah, Marc almost snap bought a Apple Watch, and now he's like, what the hell did I buy on Amazon?
Like, it was $17.39. What did I buy at Amazon for $17.39?
I don't know. Vitamins.
Oh, I know what that was. That was the poker set, because I used some Red Hat rewards, and the balance was $17.39. Yeah, I bought a poker set. It's in that case over there.
Cool.
Because I wanna like have some people here to play poker in person.
Yeah,
You're
we
one
talked
of them,
about
by
that.
the way. Do you want to, like, you and Adam, like, get you, Adam, and like one other guy, and play some poker?
You just want me to come over so you can win all my money?
No, we'll do like a $10 game or something. Or even we could play for no money, just for fun the first time. But
the first one,
it's more fun if you got some skin in the game.
The first one is always free. Anyway,
that's right.
So the second article I linked here, and this is like, I didn't do any kind of a deep dive on this. It's kind of old news at this point, but I included article. It just happens to be from the Register. I know they're not always the highest quality news, but about the Freenode thing. Did you know that Freenode is suddenly being vacated by most of its staff and most of its channels?
I've read that. I've read a few things with the Freenode thing, and I don't know how to feel about it. Sometimes it feels like it's an overreaction.
It does.
Sometimes it feels like a jerk did come in and try and take it over.
Most of the stuff I've read feels like an overreaction, and that kind of disappoints me.
But I don't know. You see, I'm gonna be like not 99% of people on social media, and admit that I don't actually know enough of the details.
You're right. Neither do I.
That I can't give an informed opinion. But if it's true that the guy thought he owned all of Freenode because he bought the name, the company that held the name, and therefore he had some sort of control over it, he doesn't understand how IRC really works.
Yeah.
And there's apparently scripting that was trying to ban people who were saying move to this new IRC top end service. So
that was kind of a bad move.
Yeah, exactly. Little money, outside for cigars, big damn heroes in, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, Andy, if you want to drive up to PA, you're in. I'd play poker with you. You'd be a fun poker player.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think the Freenode thing is partial overblown, partial bad reaction.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you depended on Freenode for interaction with certain projects, you're going to have to look elsewhere. Most of them are going to a new chat network called
LibreNet.
Libera, I think.
Yeah, I think Fedora did.
Libera
I think
chat.
the CentOS or CentOS or
Fedora actually did an interesting thing, right? Mm-hmm. So this reminded me that we had a thread going on in the infamous memo list about IRC, about Freenode. So I went and looked it up. And somebody mentioned Matrix, which, as some of you might remember, is the platform I tried to move Iron Sysadmin's chat over to, which kind of flopped. There wasn't a lot of interest in it.
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
I still hold that Matrix has promise as a replacement for things like IRC. And when Freenode kind of collapsed, I thought, oh, cool, maybe people will move to Freenode. Fedora did.
Matrix.
Moved to Matrix. Fedora actually made a channel on Matrix, and they have an IRC bridge set up between that and this Libera, Libra chat.
Interesting.
So you can join the Fedora channel on matrix.org. Apparently, they're working on setting up a home server so they can essentially self-host their chats on their own system.
We have some podcasts they can listen to about that.
Yeah, which is one of the attractions that I see to Matrix, and that's what I've always said. Not only is it end-to-end encrypted, or it can be end-to-end encrypted, you can self-host it, which means that nobody can claim ownership of your network. Right? So I was kind of surprised to see that when Freenode was sort of overrun and collapsed the way it did, all they did was set up a new IRC network. Like, why didn't we look for a better solution? And I think the reasoning behind that is simply that we needed a quick solution because there's like integrations and stuff with IRC. It's not just chat at this point anymore. There's bots and there's stuff involved like that. So laziness. Yep, that's it. So anyway, if you're looking for a new home for something that was on Freenode, just give Matrix a look. Check it out. I think it's cool. I think it has promise, and I think it has more features than IRC will ever give you. It's more modern. It can be encrypted. Well, I guess IRC can be too. But yeah, I think it's good stuff.
If you like Matrix so much, why don't you marry it? Little Pee Wee Herman. I will. Then we'll have Nate marry Matrix.
The places your mind goes.
It goes weird places. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I know the feeling. All right, so
I'm now at the place where I'm like, if we finish the show in the next 10 or 15 minutes, do I have time to watch In the Heights, which is over 2 hours long, or should I just stick with my original plan and watch it after breakfast tomorrow? Because In the Heights, I thought it was dropping tomorrow on HBO Max. It dropped today. My wife and I watched the first few minutes, and it was during the workday, and she's like, "You're going to keep watching this unless I turn it off, aren't you?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm a weak man."
Probably. I'm just going to stand here behind the couch watching it.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it. No, I'm not watching it tonight. I'm going to make sense. What I might do is I've been watching the series on Netflix, Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah.
I really like it. Apparently, it's a failure according to the internet, but I've actually enjoyed it. I got 2 episodes left, so I might watch that. I might watch one or both of them.
That came out just like a week ago, right?
It's been a little more than a week, but it's a recent drop. But people are claiming it's a failure.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, our last 2 articles, and I don't want to lump them together, but they're both ransomware related.
Well,
one of them is kind of a loss. The other's kind of a win. So the first one, maybe you've heard, meat supplier JBS pays ransomware hackers $11 million despite having backups. Now, we're going to back up for a second. JBS is apparently, a meat packaging supplier, a meat supplier. They got hit with ransomware. They were shut down. A lot of their packaging plants shut down. There was a brief spike in meat products, like at the grocery store. They've recovered. They're back up and running again. The majority of that was from the diligence of their ops team. I suppose they must have restored from backup or something, because they were largely up and running again. But then they paid the freaking $11 million ransom anyway, even though they were up and running. And they say that the reason behind that was, because the ransomware folks have figured out that backups are their kryptonite. So now they threaten to leak data because they've quote-unquote exfiltrated the data.
What kind of data could they leak, though, from a meat company?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it makes you wonder, what were they so worried about? But yeah, they were going to supposedly leak this data unless they paid the ransom, so they paid.
Would this tell us what Soylent Green really is? I mean, is that the level?
Or what's really in sausage? Right.
Oh, the execs will still get raises. Just the regular guys. The regular guys won't.
I wouldn't say no one.
The execs will keep their golden parachutes. Come on, Andy. You know how
Yeah.
life works.
Yeah. So
Please.
yeah, I mean, this is kind of a shame. I think that they paid it anyway. I don't know what kind of data they had grabbed. Maybe they had personal information for employees or something, and they didn't want that leaked. Maybe it was financial data. Maybe it was some kind of, weird thing that was going to make JBS look bad. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but they paid the ransom. Now, the thing that gets me is there is still no guarantee that data won't get leaked. They still have the data.
Right.
Whether you paid the ransom or not, they have the freaking data.
You're counting on the word of criminals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's
Whatever
nothing.
happened to don't negotiate with terrorists.
There's
right?
nothing to stop them from coming back in 6 months and saying, hey,
give us a little more money.
That data we were going to leak that you paid us $11 million for, how about another 6?
Yeah, exactly.
We still have the data. We're going to leak it.
Hush
We're going to leak the data. Yeah.
They just got to be able to say, fuck you. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
So, but the last news story is a happier ending.
A little more
Not
of
the
an
kind
upbeat.
you get after a massage, but a happy ending nonetheless.
Yeah, but the thing that's unhappy about it is that it comes from the New York Times and they want me to subscribe.
Oh, well, I was able to read it, this article. But it's basically the Justice Department, and this should be probably made into a movie with like animated like cyber war scenes and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They actually were able to seize a good chunk of the ransom back from the Bitcoin from the Russian hacking collective. So this has got to be a hell of a story.
Yeah, I think this is pretty cool.
They tracked it. Like, I used to play this video game, right? They tracked it as it moved through like 23 different electronics accounts. And then it finally landed into one that they had permission to break into, and they seized it. I'm taking that Bitcoin wallet.
Nice. So
that's like baller to me. That's really excellent. No, what was the video game that I'm thinking of? I actually own it on Steam. Let me find it because it was a fun game, and if you're a nerd, it's actually worth a buy.
I'm just looking at that huge list of whatever that you're scrolling through. Is that all your Steam games?
That's all my Steam games because I'm terrible.
That's a lot of games.
I own a lot of games, and it's actually frightening how many of these have never even opened.
I was gonna say, how many have you played?
There's a site that'll use API calls to tell you that, and I'm terrified to use it because I used it once, and it was embarrassing. Where the hell is it? Is this just the installed stuff? Come on. Uncategorized. Where the hell?
If Iron Sysadmin was a movie, who would play the hosts? My God.
I would be played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah? Because of your manly physique?
Or I would be played by the lady who plays Elsa. I forget her name.
Just for the singing?
Let It Go.
Just for the singing.
Because then the singing would be awesome.
The singing would be better.
Would be awesome-er. Maybe it would be a movie where the actors switch depending on the situation. Like it would mostly be Arnold, but it would switch to her when the singing happened.
It would switch to her wearing an Arnold mask, a bad Arnold mask.
Because I don't think Arnold. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I probably can do a better rendition of Let It Go than Arnold can.
Probably.
I wish I could find the game. It was an awesome game.
I'm picturing Arnold as the Terminator.
Let it go! Let it go!
Singing Let It Go.
Don't hold it back anymore!
So, folks, I want to hear from you. Who would play the Iron Sysadmin hosts if Iron Sysadmin were a movie?
You might be Jack Black. I could see Jack Black playing you.
Really? I think Jack Black is a lot more charismatic than I am.
I don't know.
Jack Black.
I can't find the game, but it was a game where you basically played a hacker and you.
Oh, do you mean I know which one you're talking about.
Like it was mostly like it was a near future thing. I don't remember.
Is it just called like Black Hat or something? No, that was a movie. That was a terrible movie where they had Thor playing. As soon as you find it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that was it, because it's at the tip of my brain. I can't remember the name of it.
All right, so top 10 video games with hacking gameplay. That's probably gonna be on this list, I have to imagine. Let's see.
It was some lead hackery name. I just can't remember.
Uplink.
That's not the one I'm thinking of, but okay.
Uplink is an amazing game. We need Josh with the link to it. With
Yeah,
the link
right. We need the fact checker,
Oh,
Josh.
here it is right here. Uplink, yeah. Let it go. Let it go. Go play Uplink. All right, let's see. Uplink video game. We're going to toss this in chat. It is on, and it's on Steam.
So I have an interesting sort of question related to
that's Uplink.
The Bitcoin stuff, related to these ransoms, right? I heard on the news the other day, and this is something that's been talked about before, and I didn't find an article or anything because there is no specific article to talk about, but apparently the U.S. government is considering finding some way to basically disable or outlaw Bitcoin.
I don't know how you do. Well, you could outlaw it. How'd that work out with booze?
Yeah, right. I'm sort of curious, and maybe we've already gone long enough and it would be hard to go any further, but I'm just kind of curious what people think about that. Because personally, I feel like that's quite an overstepping from any government to just basically say this currency that you're trying to use is illegal.
There is a YouTube rap video about that.
About outlawing cryptocurrency?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it because it's as embarrassing as this is. It's in my watch history. I'm not normally one for
Rap
parodies, but this one was actually pretty good. Where's my history? Here we go. Give me a moment. Wow, my YouTube history is actually kind of embarrassing. Wow.
My YouTube history is full of like DJ sets from Asterisk.
Oh, that's right. I've been watching some videos on this channel called Townsend's. It's this guy who does stuff about the 18th century and cooks the American food from there.
That's interesting.
It actually is interesting.
I bet it sounds very bland, the food.
There are some things you're like, wow, I would not have liked eating.
I would not have eaten if I lived in that era.
Oh my God, why did I watch that? Ooh. Ooh. Sometimes I remember, oh yeah, that's why I watched that.
And that's what this part of the show has turned into.
I feel like I've gone back further than
I hate that. And then it's like, did I go too far? Do I have to go back? And then you go back and like, I still don't see it. Did I not go back far enough? So we're about at the end of the show, folks. While Mark tries to look for that in his history, I'm going to go ahead and do the closing stuff. And if he finds it, we'll be sure to... I'm sure he'll interject while I'm talking.
The crypto rap battle.
There, he found it. The crypto rap battle.
Here we go. I'm gonna talk. Should you want it in chat or in the agenda?
Put it in the agenda. That way people can watch it if they want to.
Okay. If they want to. I don't recommend it. Let's see here. I'll put it down. Oh God, what am I doing? I'm so terrible at Google Doc, apparently. All right, I'll do it here. Crypto, under the last article, rap battle.
Bitcoin rap battle? Hamilton versus Satoshi?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, Bitcoin rap battle debate. It's in the agenda now.
In a critical debate. In this corner, the creator of centralized banking. Make some noise for Alexander Hamilton.
Now I know why you found it.
And in this corner, the creator of the Bitcoin, the believer in the blockchain. Give it up for Satoshi Nakamoto.
There's people behind Hamilton with muskets with
Mr. Hamilton.
bayonets on them.
Yeah.
Before we begin, everyone do me a favor and read a little thing I wrote called the Federalist Papers.
Yeah.
I explain how a nation...
All right. I'll have to watch that later. Now you guys have had a taste of Hamilton versus Satoshi.
The crypto rap battle.
Crypto rap battle. All right. So anyway, I think that's it for tonight, folks. This has been a fun rabbit hole of a show.
We have taken them in weird ass places.
We've gone all over the damn place, and I think that's it. If for some reason you'd like to watch this live, you can do so on either YouTube or Twitch. YouTube.com/ can't talk anymore. YouTube.com/ Iron Sysadmin Podcast or Twitch.tv/ Iron Sysadmin Podcast. You can join our Discord community if you would like to by going to, well, there's a link in the show notes, or you can go to ironsysadmin.com, and there's a link in the menus there. I can't read it to you because it's like WMXV capital Q4C. Yeah, really. You get the idea. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Just look for the Iron Sysadmin Podcast, and you'll find us. You can subscribe wherever you can find podcasts. If you don't find us wherever you find podcasts, let us know, and we'll try to get ourselves listed wherever you find podcasts. Maybe you're on some weird podcasting platform that Libsyn does not have hooks into yet, and we can fix that. So, yeah, I think that's it for tonight. If you want to support the show, you can do so via Patreon, patreon.com/ironsysadmin. And with that, I hope you guys have a good night, and we will catch you on the next show. Now I got to find the right transition page here.
Bye now.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Ah. Somebody's sneaking in. Good night, everybody.